Okay, we can start off with just answer questions. I mean, you guys have the list. You know, signing day now is somewhat anticlimactic based on the new signing period, and most players across the country have been committed for 6 months. So whatever questions you guys have on the class, I'll be glad to answer them for you.
I know the pundits on the internet and so forth haven't ranked this class as high as maybe some of your other classes, but you had to go after some positions that maybe don't get ranked as high, like offensive line. And I kind of look at those four guys as being kind of an anchor in the class. What do you think?
Well, each year, you know, if 4 go out, we bring 4 in. If 2 go out at a certain position, we try to bring 2 in. Our numbers are balanced up, fairly close to where they should be. So as each recruiting year starts, for example, we're 6 to 8 months into the 20 class and 2 months into the 21 class. So as we start this process, we know what should happen and how many should go out. The only adjustment now is with the portal, with the availability for other young men to leave the program is a little different, and then recruiting young men off the portal. But for the most part, we go after and replace the number of players that we lose by position. And during the evaluation process, their academic skills, their social skills, their leadership ability, the willingness to play the game, and then football, we come up with that list. And so anybody that's on this list we feel like would be a good part and play a big role in our character and in the culture that we have here, and help us be as competitive as possible on game day.
What do you think of the O-linemen, those 4 guys in particular?
Well, we think they're going to help us win. I mean, otherwise we wouldn't have signed them. Those are guys that have been on the list for a while. Athletically, you know, if we didn't think that they couldn't grow into 300-pounders and move their feet well enough to play in an up-tempo offense, then we wouldn't get on them. But we like where we're at with them and what they bring to the table. You know, the interesting part about recruiting is this: we really don't know for 2 years what these young men are going to do. I would like to stand here and say that I don't know how many's on this list, 19, something like that. 19, that's a good guess. That all of them will be exactly what we're looking for, but it's very difficult to predict that. Some of them will play better than others, and some of them it takes a little bit longer. But we like all of them, what they bring to the table, and we think that they fit into the culture that we have here in this system.
A couple of years ago, you had a class where you didn't bring in any high school offensive linemen, and since Josh has been here, that's 9 in 2 years. What kind of difference has he made on the recruiting trail? We were we were in the recovery stage at that time. We went through a number of years here where if we were to play back this press conference from years ago, I said we're in a difficult situation. We're playing catch up, and we're caught up now. We've got young men in the program, and offensive lineman is the one position that in most cases they're not going to contribute as a true freshman, usually 2 years later. So we've got some young players in the program. We've got a group of them from last year that have gotten a considerable amount of work in the last 3 weeks in bowl practice. And so Josh has done a nice job of finding guys that he thinks fit our style of play and bring young men in that we can develop in the weight room with Rod Glass.
You got a couple of guys on here who are younger brothers of some current Cowboys. Does it make that easier to recruit those guys because you already have that establishment with parents and stuff like that, and they know kind of what to expect of the program?
One way or the other. In most cases, the players that leave here on an exit interview after 4 or 5 years will say they've had a great experience here. Nothing's ever perfect at any high level in a competitive sport. But our players feel like that they've had a good experience and have been treated the way that they were told they'd be treated in recruiting. And so when we go into a home of a younger brother, we can say this is what or the way we said it would happen with your other son, and it has. And we hope that he'll be a part of our program. So we have some evidence to bring to the table that we do what we say we're going to do.
Is that a point of emphasis, though? If you see a younger brother who's kind of showing up as a potential recruit, I mean, do you put a little more focus in on going after the younger brothers as well?
Well, for example, the young men that are on our team now that have younger brothers have been quality people in our program. So there's a good chance, not 100%, but there's a good chance that the second one along will fall in line just like the first ones.
We've got a couple of junior college guys on the list that are in positions that will thin next year, it looks like. Are you expecting, as most junior college guys, you'll need them to perform right away?
We hope so. That's why we take them. Years ago, 10 years ago, you would bring in a junior college player and they would be impact players right away. It's not been that way in the last 6, 8, 10 years. In most cases, they need some time like young players. That's all been determined based on the sliding scale and the GPA that changed a number of years ago. That's affected the style of player and the type of player that you're getting from junior college in most cases. What you get is a young man that's 20 instead of 18. So he's a little more mature. He's been away from home, should be able to fit into the system and a little stronger. And we've lost a number of D linemen. And, we were talking in August about that we were set at the running back position for the next 20 years. And then all of a sudden now we're down to where we got to go get a junior college guy. And that's just the turns and the things that happen now in college football. So we would hope that both of those young men could impact and help us right away.
Because of the change of how capable guys are coming out of junior college, have you restricted the positions you'll look at for those guys, or are you still open to taking junior college guys at any position?
If we need, well, for example, what happened at the running back position. If JD was here, then we would not have taken a junior college player, just based on bringing a younger player in that can develop in the program. But when you look at your depth chart, and particularly at that position that takes a lot of hits, you almost just need to stay 3 or 4 deep. We were fortunate this year that we had 4 guys that we could put in the game. So it has changed, and we have to be open to any position just based on where you're running a little thin at those numbers.
Why has it changed, Mike? You said 10 years ago they'd be impact players right away. Why are not so much now?
Used to be junior college players, the entrance requirements for this level used to be a certain GPA and a certain ACT test score. Well, those numbers have changed. I don't know how many years ago it's been. I'm going to say 10, but I could be off. May have been 8, maybe 12. I don't know. But we're on a sliding scale now. A young man can get a 3.5 GPA and a 13 on the ACT and still get in school. Or he can get
more kids are getting in school.
Sure. You would have to ask. Well, you could ask Robert's son up there at NEO. The pool of availability for junior college coaches to recruit has been drastically reduced since that new rule went in effect, because it's much easier for a young man to qualify to get into a Power 5 conference school based on the sliding scale.
Bringing up Hunter, Tom Hutton from Australia, he's 28. What was the process like recruiting him and bringing him to Oklahoma State?
Very excited about him. Really unique story. He's 28, right? I think he's getting ready to turn 29, married, works at a paper mill. I believe it's either 5 or 6 days a week, 10 hours a day. So essentially a hard lunch pail guy, and 10 hours a day of hard work. So I'm sure he'll be thrilled to be in our organization where we'll do everything for him. But comes from the same football factory that the young man that played at Texas that almost beat him he almost beat us by himself a couple years ago down here. I think he plays for the Seahawks now. Came from the same factory as him, and I'm really excited about him. Supposed to be fantastic with the football and what he can do.
You don't talk to Mason Cox at all? I know he played Australian rules football. Was there any kind of correlation there between
with who?
Mason Cox, who used to play basketball here at OSU? Was like
you're out of my league now. I didn't even know who he was or where he came from. So you got me on that one.
How much did Dixon and seeing him at Texas influence you guys in terms of saying, well, we want to kind of look down there?
100%. When I walked off the field, I told our recruiting guy and I told our special teams guy, who's no longer here, we need to find a punter like that.
And so they got in touch with the kicking academy over there in Australia. There's 2 guys that run that, and they're fantastic. And they're controlling the recruiting. They're finding these young men. I think it's rugby and Australian rules where they recruit them. They put them in the system. They train them. It's a pretty sophisticated academy they have over there. And they're straight shooters, which I like. And I'm looking forward to taking a recruiting trip over there.
Are there any hurdles as it relates to NCAA rules? I mean, obviously you haven't been to the NCAA schools at this point, but with the age and the work, do you have to clear any?
You know, it's the same system of rules based on he has not played collegiate football, so his clock could start. Like I just read, somebody sent me something the other day. There's a guy playing basketball that's like 40 years old for some Division III school. So if his clock never starts, his enrollment, his full-time student status, then he's good.
What do you guys like about Brandon Costello?
I think he's a good player. I think he's got savvy. He's got enough mobility, can make tight throws. He's not scared to turn the ball loose. Kind of a late bloomer. When we offered him, I think his only offer was Eastern Washington. And since then, there's been a number of schools that have come in and courted him and tried to sway him one way or the other, and he's held strong with us. Family's originally from the East Coast, lives on the West Coast now. He's got good work habits, tough, played injured. Hopefully he'll fit in.
You guys, your recent history is taking quarterbacks from across the country, really. What kind of goes into that, and is that just you're just kind of looking everywhere you can to find a guy?
We go after every 6-star and 8-star and 4-star and every star in the world we can get around here, and they all go to other schools at this point, so we go get whatever else is out there. Try to find the very best one that fits our system based on we kind of work our way from here out, and we usually end up on the East or West Coast somewhere. But there's a number of guys that are in this area that we tried to get in on, and they didn't have any interest in us, so we just go to the next guy.
How different is that with quarterbacks? Because you think your defensive players and everything, usually you stay to your region, but quarterback-wise, you cast a wider geographical net.
I think they just will go other places based on that. Most schools going to take 1 a year. Take 4 offensive linemen. That's pretty consistent across the country. You're going to take 3 or 4 defensive linemen, 3 or 4 DBs, right? So 2 or 3 linebackers. Quarterbacks kind of find a slot, and they jump in wherever they think they want to be. And so based on the total number of Power 5 schools that are in a regional area, you're looking at 10 schools, 12 schools, like in the regional part of this, So with that being said, once they get 10 or 12 guys committed in this area, well, then the guys that would be in this area, they're going to have to look to go somewhere else unless they want to double up at a school, which is, something that's a little unusual. Now, if you get what's becoming popular now is young men who are transferring, like with Kyler. So young man goes to a school, another guy transfers in. Now you get a train wreck, and one guy's got to stay, one guy's got to go. That's what's going to be unusual about the pattern from this point moving forward.
Mike, one thing that seems to be increasing each year is the kids that commit and end up signing with you. A lot of them have been on your campus, not only on visits, but a lot of them are in the camp program. Costello is a good example of that. He came in the summer and was in the camp program. I think every one of those offensive linemen showed up here for camp.
The camps have changed, obviously, over the years. We have the show where, because of the success that we've had throwing the football here and moving the ball and scoring points, we've been able to attract wide receivers and quarterbacks from all over the country that will come to this camp, and Costello was in it. And that interest draws those guys in and gives us a chance to spend time with them, get to know them, and gives them a chance to get to know us and the community here. So it's an advantage for us to get them in the community and in Stillwater. And they come here, they feel comfortable, college town, and if they like what they see, get along with the coaches, then the interest level goes up and it gives us a chance to recruit them.
Mike Grayson was an early dad in his class and a local kid too. Did he become one of those de facto recruiters for you within the class at all?
Yeah, what's interesting, Jenny, is
They have a group, I think it's group chat. Am I correct? Is that what it's called? Where they all get in and talk to each other. And so once they start falling into a class, they get into this group chat, and then they communicate and talk to each other, and then they try to recruit other guys to get in. And that's maybe more communication than we have with them, is these guys that are recruiting each other based on social media.
Was there a guy that was a ringleader of that? Morgan Grayson?
I would like to tell you that I've even been on it one time to let you know, but I don't. I have no idea who's doing it. Now, our recruiting office could tell you because they follow all that stuff, but I don't have any idea who's doing what on there. I just know they have that group chat.
Your current Cowboy backs have kind of a niche, whether it's pass catching or blocking. Where does Grayson, where do you see him kind of fitting in right now with what his skill set is?
Should be 20 pounds, 18 months from now, 20 pounds heavier. Hopefully he can hold the point online and split out. I see a Blake Jarwin in him, potentially. If that works, he'll be a good for us.
Mike, only 3 in-state guys. Last few years, you haven't been signing as many. OU's not been signing as many. Is that what's the result of that? What's the cause of that?
Population. You know, there's 3.8 million people in the state of Oklahoma.
We didn't used to have 8 million.
Well, social media and the huddle and the change in technology has allowed everybody in the country to branch out more if they choose to do so. We don't branch out very much. We're going to make our living in Oklahoma and Texas. We go pick up a 2-year guy, you know, in Kansas or California or somewhere. Every once in a while, we'll catch a quarterback or a wideout that comes from some distance. But for the most part, for us, it's same old concept. We can go to Texas, and there's a statistic I can't remember. There's more 6A schools in Dallas, Fort Worth metroplex area than there are in all high schools in Oklahoma. So it's just based on population. I don't even know how many. I think we had 3 this year, right? And I don't know how many signed. We had 3. I don't know how many OU signed out, and then whatever else Power 5 schools. What was the total number this year? Anybody know? 6, maybe. Total number of guys. Robert, you would know. How many? That Power 5 schools. Yeah. So it's just based on population.
You talked about kind of sticking to Oklahoma and Texas, but you've also kind of started lingering into Louisiana a little bit more. How important is it to start continuing? Because again, bringing in another kid from Louisiana.
Yeah, same type of people. You know, when you go east through East Texas down into that Louisiana area, blue collar, salt of the earth people can relate to living in Stillwater. Same, usually raised the right way, very coachable. High school football through that part of the state of Louisiana is very competitive and very disciplined and structured like it is in East Texas. So usually a good fit here in our culture.
Some schools kind of develop a tradition. Cibolo Steel has really developed a tradition of having defensive backs, safeties, quarters, and you got a guy, I think he played in the same secondary with Javian Cardwell, who's here, and with Caden Stearns, who's in Texas, in player.
Same concept as East Texas. You're getting quality young men that come out of an organization that they train early in the mornings. They lift at 6:30. Like what happens in college, they have athletic hours. You know, they're disciplined, they're structured, they're used to winning, and so the young men are raised and trained the right way in that organization, and so they happen to be a good fit for our culture.
What do you guys like about Trey Sport from Santa Fe?
Well, I like because I went and watched him play high school baseball last year, and I saw him run a fly ball down in left field and dive and catch it and steal 2 bases at 225 pounds. So that's what I like. He hadn't trained enough to amount to anything in the weight room. He's a football, basketball, baseball guy. So he hadn't had extended period of time at all and with his body developing at all. I think he was up here the other day. He was 223 pounds. And I would say in 18 months he'll be 250, and I think he'll run under 4.7. And that's why I like him, because I think he's going to be a guy that can get off the edge and really put pressure on a quarterback. And he's not ever had a chance to dedicate anything to his body yet, based on being a 3-sport guy, which is awesome. Very competitive, very intelligent. Looking forward to getting him here. Go ahead. You were getting cut off there.
Oh, it was actually the same question about Steele High School that you already asked.
Good.
Thank
You got it worked. Good. Okay.
Will you let him DH for Josh?
Talk about trade.
No. Then he wouldn't be in the weight room.
Are you as committed as ever to going after guys that play multiple sports? You know, there for a while we had that special.
Yeah, we've always liked multiple sports. They're the best athletes. Guys that can play 3 sports are generally a better athlete than guys playing 1 sport. That's why they're playing 3 sports. So we've had luck with guys that are multi-sport athletes. You know, it's interesting, particularly at the quarterback position and skill positions, I should say. Mason's one of the only quarterbacks that we've had here that wasn't a multi-sport guy. We saw that, you know, when he threw the baseball over here at first pitch, when it almost didn't. Really, if the backstop wasn't there, it would have hit the press box. Dez, the running back we signed, was a really good center fielder and a really good football player, and is a very good golfer still to this day. And so when I found that out, I was really excited about the athleticism he brings to us, because not only does he have some maturity, some size and strength, but a guy that's a good baseball player in high school is going to have good eye-hand coordination. If he's a good golfer, he's got 2 things. He's got some mental capability, and he's also got some good eye-hand coordination going on. So I was excited about that.
Past few years, you've been bringing in some guys who did some wrestling as well. Anybody on this class?
Let's see. Let me think about that. We like wrestlers. I thought we had somebody. I don't think so. Coach McIndoe's son, we've got him in wrestling over at Stillwater. In fact, he had his first match last night. He won 1-0 and beat a good kid. So, but I don't think we have anybody on this list that's wrestled.
Mike, you reported the last few days and weeks about Yursich, Tennessee interested in Yursich. Is that something you had to deal with in the last few days?
No, Mark asked me that the other day. From recruits, no. You don't hear that much anymore. You know, I know people don't want to hear this, especially recruiting services, but it's a very anticlimactic day compared to the past. I get up early in the morning just in case somebody calls me. But these guys are set. You don't get a lot of comments one way or the other. You know, it's interesting with the decisions that are made. Like, there's 3 guys that we're on hard right now that haven't signed. We're hoping that maybe they'll make a decision later today. And in most cases, years ago, we'd be calling them and trying to get him in there with the coach and pounding on him and all that. There's just not a lot of that anymore. It's changed with recruiting, and I don't think that I know now that I have not heard one word about an assistant coach taking another job in recruiting this year in all the places I went just in the last couple of weeks. You just don't hear about it anymore.
Do recruits just don't care as much as they used to? Or
I'm sure they do, but I'm going to tell you, and I said this before, you'd be shocked at how many of them don't know. We've had years where we were ranked in the top 10 or 15 in the country. I said this, and getting ready to play in a bowl game, and somebody will say, well, how'd your season go this year? You know, and I usually say, well, we're 13-0. I mean, we're doing great. And they don't even flinch. Nobody even knows we're not 13-0. So you'd just be surprised the world they live in, that I guess some of them maybe are into it more than others. Robert follows them on recruiting services, and then you have a large group of them that aren't into it. They don't know. They don't know what's going on. So it's just different. But what's that?
Why are they picking them? I mean, if it's not about.
You talking about why are they making a decision?
Yeah.
They come to campus now in the spring, and they spend a day or 2 here. Their families come. They're more inclined to investigate academics than they ever have been before, which is good. They they study your business college or your ag school or whatever it is they're interested in. They spend a lot of time in the academic center with the people, and they want to know how it's all laid out. They'll look at your facilities, but the truth be known, once you get to the level we are, I'm just going to say a top 20 program in the country facility wise,
they're all really good. It's not like it was 10 years ago where you could see a considerable difference. Like before we built this facility, there was a considerable drop off if they would have gone and looked at another school. Well, now that we have this facility, they can go anywhere in the country and they may see a really nice facility, but it's not going to be much better than this, if any at all. So you're at a high level facility wise, pretty much everybody we recruit against. And the relationship that they have with their position coach is really the most important thing now, in my opinion. More so than some of the other stuff that people will talk about.
You know, you might have a couple more potentially commit today.
We're on three. We're on three hard right now that I think will make a decision before the end of the day.
Yeah, but that still leaves you with a couple more openings, even if you get all three of them. What do you do over the next month and a half up till February? Do you focus more on JUCO guys, or are there still some other high school kids that kind of geared towards?
Well, but it depends on the position. You know, we have 19 here. Okay, we had 22 departing seniors. Is that right? We had 2 kids come out early. We had 4 or 5 kids on the portal. So if you add all those numbers up, it's about 29. Okay, and then we get 25 initials, and there's only 19 on here now. So we're going to eventually have to maximize that the best we can, unless there's not somebody that we think can come in and help our program. But we won't know that for a while, other than the 3 that we're pursuing as we speak based on the portal. Because I'm going to say, I think right now there's 1,200 kids on the portal. And I think after the bowl game, that number could push to 1,500 really fast. So you have to start working that now. Probably have to hire another recruiting service and office just for portal recruiting based on high school and junior college recruiting. So we're just going to play our way through it and see how it all falls, and it's new for us. So
How are you using that portal? Are you guys scanning through that, looking for different guys?
Sure. There's 1,200 kids on it. I mean, it's a major recruiting service now.
Can you talk about just the numbers of the senior class and then the losses overall? That can you can start getting short on scholarships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're going to have to, NCAA is going to have to adjust the rules.
Are you concerned about just your overall, how many guys you're going to have?
The NCAA is going to have to adjust the rules. They're going to have to get rid of the initials. We're going to have to just go to 85 scholarships. Because you can't keep losing 3 or 4 kids a year based on the vehicle they're using for young men to transfer. So once they wanted to put that in place, I'm good if that's what they want to do. But they have to adjust it along the way. They got a little bit ahead of themselves, in my opinion. They don't know what they're in a position now that they're going to have to make some adjustments really fast, just like APR. So every one of the young men that leaves this program academically eligible in good standing on the portal counts against my APR. I lose numbers. If your APR goes so low, you're not bowl eligible. It's not a good thing. If they leave here with a 3.0 GPA and they're in good standing, that shouldn't count against my numbers. That's where they're going to have some issues right now.
Coach Gundy, you have DeMarco Jones coming out of the same high school as Jordan Brailford and Justice Hill. What did you see in him?
He was been around the program a long time. At Booker T, we have a really good relationship with him, and we've had a number of players for years and years and years. And he's got good cover skills, got good feet. You got to have corners in this league, guys that can cover. Even guys now that have to play corners that play nickelback. So I think there'll be a trend in this league that, well, for us, I don't know about anybody else, where you might sign 4 corners a year and 1 safety, and those corners are going to end up playing safety because everybody in this league is throwing the ball down the field with slot receivers, and safeties have a difficult time covering them. So we need as many guys that can cover like he can as we can get in the program.
A guy who was a little under the radar because obviously he was hurt this year, and the fact that he's in the same secondary as the best kid in the state.
Yeah, he was committed way before that, though. I mean, I think he's been committed for over a year. So we liked him a long time ago at camp. We liked his
change direction. He's a little undersized right now. You know, he needs to gain 10, 12, 15 pounds, which he will. But he's come from a great program. He's got football savvy, intelligent. Those things are important now in trying to find ways to cover and slow down offenses.
When he tore his labrum this year, I know he told us there was a brief moment, as probably any high school senior in that position thinks, oh, I'm going to lose my scholarship now that I'm hurt. Did you guys have to do some reassuring that it's...
I think he was concerned, but when a young man commits here, then he's committed here. We're not ever going to take their scholarships away from them because they're injured. If they were if they're injured to the point that they can't play at all, then we can bring them into school here and put them on scholarship, even if they can't play. And our administration has agreed to that. It's been, 15 years now for me as a head coach that we've said that we would do that just based on a commitment. When we make a commitment to a young man, we keep our commitment. We expect them to do the same. Now, that doesn't always happen in recruiting. There's a lot of young men that change their mind all the time based on what kind of Twitter results that they can get. But that's not the way that we operate. We've never done that. So now, if they're not in good academic standing, that's one thing. They've had discipline or character issues, that's another thing. But it wouldn't be because of an injury.
Mike, a guy like Brendan Costello, how beneficial is it that he's going to be able to early enroll? Like, how beneficial is that, especially for a quarterback?
It's huge for him. He'll know the system before they get into June off-season training. For a quarterback, it's a big deal. I say this, it's a big deal for everybody because they get to go 6 months with Rob Glass in strength conditioning. Their bodies will change completely. But for a quarterback that has to be able to digest a lot of information, it's very important if they think they're going to play early in their career. But it's not for everybody. Some young men want to hang out in their spring semester and go to school at 9 and get out at noon, play baseball or run track. I wouldn't do it. I wish I could go back and do my 4 months of my senior year in the spring again. But some people want to do it. Some kids want to do it. They're ready to go. But to answer the question, it's a big deal for a quarterback to get into college early and start in spring ball.
Have you ever had an early entry guy shows up in January and you could tell pretty quick that he probably should have stayed home?
Mm-hmm. Probably about 2 out of 10. They get here and you have to counsel them and homesick and all the different things you go through. Now the total number of those guys has gone down drastically based on we have so much support here. You know, there used to be, like in the staff meeting that I have, it used to be me as the head coach and like 14 people. Well, the other day I counted, there's 41 people in there. These, you know, there's player development and nutritionists and high school relations and all the different things that we have now. So they have so much support, but you can still see with some of them that I'm not sure I should have done this. My buddy's high school prom is next week and I'm here running the stadiums at 6 a.m. But most of them do okay.
My kind of benefit today starts to think about the future, and obviously next year kind of comes to mind, not just with this, but with your current team. As you've gone through bowl prep, are you starting to, I know the last time we talked to you at TCU, it was sort of like, this was a weird year. Have you started to get a sense of younger guys and where this team is headed as 2019 approaches?
We've by the time we get through Saturday, we will have had a spring ball. And we've had about half the amount of reps that the young players would get in a spring ball because we're still preparing for a game. And we've gotten really good results. So I wish I could tell you that I had a feel for it because I don't. Just based on you still have the veterans here and the younger guys haven't had to step up and lead. But I am very encouraged by the reps that I'm seeing from the young men in our program and how they're coming along.
How important do you feel like the bowl game is for, I mean, it's obviously still part of the 18th season, but just to launch you guys forward, you know, into maybe a better spot?
Oh, every game's important. Yeah, every game matters. It's an important game. But I don't know what that does for guys. I mean, you play on the last day of the year, and how that'll impact them in June. Truthfully, probably none. But every game's important, and that was the first thing that I said to the team when we started a couple weeks ago, was that it'll make a difference to me if we're 6-6 or 10-2 or whatever. Every game matters. You practice your tail off, preparation and all that, and they've done a good job with that. How it affects them in June, probably none. But every game's important, and that's the way we're approaching this. That's why we're practicing harder and longer than we have for any bowl in a number of years. We're practicing right now because 2 reasons. One, we need it, and the other is I want them to know this game's important.
Mike, what are your thoughts on
Playoff expansion?
How many years you been in here with me?
5.
Okay, now I've already gone over this, and nobody ever listens to me. I said this, and I know some guys that know this. They need to go to 8. You got to put the 5 power conferences in. You got to put UCF in, or whoever at that level is doing what they're doing, and then you get 2 wild cards. It's just a matter of time, and somebody's going to follow order and do, like I said, 5 years ago. And here's why. When you put in, here's the deal. When you put in, whether it's Boise or UCF or whatever school at that level who, as we all would agree, has no chance to ever get in right now, right? Huh? Okay. So that's not fair. Why would you go to Boise or UCF unless you just want to go there? So you can go there. Like, what is UCF's record right now in the last 2 years? Okay, so you would think they should get in. Let's just see what they can do, because we all know that they played pretty good in the bowl last year. They get in, but you don't put them against the 1. That you put them against the 4 every year. And plus, more people will want to watch that game anyway. So let's just say it's a Boise. In most cases, we would all agree that across the board athletically, Boise wouldn't be in the same level as Alabama. So let's put them against the middle of the row playoff team, make that a competitive game, and then you can put the 1 against the next team, and the 2 against the next team, and the 3 against the next team, and pair it up that way. And then every Power 5 conference school gets in. So if you win your conference, it means something. Now that'll run the market higher on conference games, because if you win your conference, like let's just say if Northwestern would have beat who'd they play, Ohio State, they're in. So everybody's going to go crazy over watching all the conference games, which they probably do anyway. I don't know what the ratings are, but they would even be more so, because if Northwestern would have beat Ohio State, they're in the playoff. And then whatever team at that level, which in the last couple of years would be UCF, they're in. So those kids know they get a chance to play for the national championship.
Do you worry about adding the extra game to the schedule?
The only issue you have, I shouldn't say the only, because I don't know. I'm just throwing this out because I like to stir up controversy. But the issue would be academic calendars. Some people are on quarters, some people are on semesters. That's what they're going to say the issue is. They're not going to have any problem selling the TV game, I can tell you that. People are ready for it. It's just a matter of time, because conference needs to be important, and the schools that like UCF need to be in at this particular time. And then you're still going to have a wild card, because you're going to have a team from every conference that's going to be right there, and they're going to say they should have been in. Well, you get 2 wild cards.
Do you think it's odd that every other level of college football has a kind of developed playoff system, but the top one doesn't?
Yeah, here's the difference. Those levels aren't playing in bowl games. So what you're saying is right. But when people say that, they don't realize that they're not in bowl games. So there's a lot going on. They do a good job. Who's in charge of it now? Rob Mullins? Yeah, Rob Mullins, yeah. I don't care what anybody says about Rob. He's doing a good job. And Rob and I work together at Maryland, so I'm teasing him. But they have a difficult job, and it's not just as easy as what I said. I'm just giving you my opinion on what I think is going to happen. But that level doesn't have the bowls. That's why it's different.
Mike, over the years, Oklahoma State and Missouri have kind of been tied together. They were in the conference, and even since then, you played them once in a major bowl game, a Cotton Bowl game. Have you seen, looking at them now, how they've changed and what kind of challenges they present being an SEC team?
I think this is a top 10 team. This is a really good team, and they're on a good year right now. Their quarterback's a good player. He's going to play in the pros. He's very accurate. He can throw it. He's tough. He'll run it if he has to. He's been very successful inside the 10-yard line, running the ball in. They're good blockers. Defensively, they're sound in what they do. They haven't given up a lot of big plays. This is a really good football team. He's done a nice job with them. And just look at the numbers. Look who they've played and what they've done, and then look who they lost to. And this is a really good football team. If they lost to some good teams, but this team, in my opinion, can play with anybody in the country on any given day on a neutral field, based on the maturity, the experience they have, and when you have a quarterback that's at a high level like he is right now, that gives you a real chance in every game.
Like, you've had, I think, 12 winning seasons in a row, and this game will obviously determine whether that streak continues. How much value or stock do you put into having that streak to sort of tout?
I mean, it's the same thing she said. We want to do good in every game, but I don't know in June if that'll affect the players' preparation for next year. I mean, I don't want to deflate anybody's bubble, but young people nowadays, everything's about what's going on now and what's going on tomorrow. But I also don't want to discredit the importance of this game. We're working extremely hard, and we think we have good game plans, and we're going to go to the bowl, and we're going to get prepared, and we're going to go play hard, and hopefully we can win. But whether that will factor into next year's preparation, I'm going to lean towards no, because if we do win, like we have the last how many years, then they've got to come back out in January and bust their tail either way. So every game's important, and we want to play the very best we can, but I don't know that that's something's going to hang around.